Kunitsu-Gami, Path of the Goddess is a tower defense meets hack and slash title from Capcom, and it's launching day one into Xbox Game Pass on July 19th. You are a maiden's protector's spirit, and you will command small groups of villagers upon whom you bestow masks. These give them roles like woodcutter, cannoneer, and ninja. Together, you'll work to cleanse a mountain full of dark spirits across dozens of levels, which can be quite difficult. Let's get into the ins and outs of this gorgeous and sometimes incredibly frustrating title in the XboxEra review of Kunitsu-Gami, Path of the Goddess. The game begins with a divine maiden, Yoshiro, and her spear protector, that's you. After a quick beatdown, you'll get linked, aka lose all your power, as evil spirits have taken over the legendary Mount Kafuku. Every level finds you spending the daytime rescuing villagers and cleaning the defiled land as you prepare to fight the demonic hordes at night. You'll begin atop the mountain and slowly snake your way down as you follow a pattern of cleansing a village, fighting a boss to unlock a new class, and then assigning work to jobs inside each town to rebuild them. Path of the Goddess is a multi-genre title. Your gameplay as is a solid hack and slash setup, and during most stages you'll have a legion of anywhere from, say, 4 to 10 or more villagers who you can assign classes to. You'll start with the basic, I have an axe, or I have a bow types, and work your way towards a shaman that can heal, or aesthetics that can slow down enemies. Everything in the game works off of a crystal currency that can be found either through cleansing areas or by killing monsters. The game is an endless series of escort missions, which at first sounded horrible to me. Thankfully, the title fixes most escort mission issues by giving you tools to succeed most of the time. Every main village cleansing sees you using your crystal currency to juggle creating a path for the maiden to traverse as she cleanses each area of its demonic possession. You'll also have to figure out, what am I going to spend on villagers, what traps am I going to do, and so forth. The game uses a day and night cycle for those levels, and you'll have a very short period of time during the day to find and save any of those cocooned villagers whom you can then assign the roles and place around the map. Early levels have one section to clear, while pretty early on and throughout the rest of the game you'll end up having 2 sections, and the levels can be pretty darn long. The game does checkpoint whenever a new night starts, so if you fail and the maiden gets killed, you don't have to do all of it all over again. To give an example of how a level starts, you'll enter an area where a short cutscene plays to give you a very quick look at the layout. You have to work very quickly, cleansing every area that needs it by holding B. These areas have a little neon light glow emanating from them, but they can be tricky to find at times. Once you have cleansed every area in a section, you'll be awarded a new trinket that lets you customize your build. These can be does more damage, or villagers have more HP, and you'll need to change them up often. There are also ultimate abilities that build up on a meter, and you eventually get to have up to 3 of them at once. They're super damned useful, and I could not have beaten the game without them. As you cleanse each spot, you'll need to keep an eye out for those cocoon villagers. The level description lets you know how many there are, and you'll need to take a note as nothing in the level tells you if you've missed anyone or not. As you cleanse the demonic rot, you'll earn that crystal currency, in which you'll assign class types to your saved villagers with. Finding the right balance of the eventual 11 classes is the bulk of the game's strategy, and the controls for it work well enough. To assign a role, you have to be really close to someone and press B. Once that role is assigned, you can then use the right bumper to pause the action outright and move each villager to where you want in a circle around your character. There are also animals to cleanse, which of course means you hit them with your sword, and they drop rations, which are one of the only ways to heal until the shaman class is unlocked. Pots can have rations in them as well, and each level will have 3 objectives to complete to earn more upgrade items called musubi. Every time you complete a level, you get various items and the upgrade currency, and can then visit any cleared village to use it. These base areas have objectives you can assign the villagers you saved in that area to help rebuild things, and each job done earns you more rewards. Without doing these, you will never get enough upgrade materials to carry on, and as each area is fully rebuilt, you upgrade the amount of crystals and/or rations you can hold at once. In each class type have upgrades available, and they are must-haves if you want to beat what is a surprisingly difficult game. There are several boss encounters that you'll face as you weave your way down the mountain, and the game ends with an incredibly long and difficult boss rush that made me feel relieved that I had spent so much time building bases and getting extra upgrade materials. Kunitsu-Gami's combat is pretty basic early on. As you progress through the levels, though, you will eventually unlock the ability to upgrade your player character. And it helped keep things interesting as a little bit of boredom had started to kick in. So can have 2 fighting stances and a ranged weapon with a set special move. It never gets on the level of, say, a Devil May Cry, which is fine as you will be too busy focusing on the strategy aspect as you engage with the game's various systems. As you run, jump, and slash, your friendly AI will be defending the specific areas you set them in. During each day cycle, you also have a builder who can fix various traps that are dotted around the level. Using these in conjunctions with the safe spots that the maiden can stand on is key. These super safe spots have her emanate a murderous aura around her that takes out any enemies that reach her fairly quickly. There are various nets and traps, cannons, and more that can aid in stopping the constant flow of enemies as they head out of the demonic gates in a straight line for your maiden. My favorite villager for this was the sumo wrestler, as he dominates whatever area he's in and allowed me to fend off the various creatures coming from different directions. Enemy variety is high, with a large number of fodder types filling out most early battlefields. You can leave them for your AI fighters as you focus on the elite varieties that have special moves and larger health bars. The game does a solid job of introducing you to them slowly throughout the campaign, with some of the latter levels feeling monstrously hard as you have 20 or more elites hitting the playing field at one time. The level variety is pretty good as well, with some finding you unable to fight during the nighttime yourself, so you have to rely entirely on properly commanding your troops. And the opposite happens once or twice as well, where you are completely alone fighting a devilishly hard boss. The maiden is an ever-weak presence in all of these, as she's always ready to die and end a level after taking a few good hits from the enemy. I didn't find it that frustrating early on, though later levels with bosses having huge sweeping hits saw her die in a second or two out of nowhere when a random attack was pointed in her direction. It didn't happen too often to drive me crazy, but it got close. Thankfully, Kunitsu-Gami is a gorgeous game, utilizing similar tech to Harold Halibut, where many of the game's items are actual real-world models that were scanned in, giving it a unique look. It's steeped deeply in Japanese lore, and the art style is a blend of beautiful pastels and horrifying demonic body horror. It looks like a diorama come to life, and a few times I found myself marveling at a cutscene only to then realize the game was starting and I had to quickly pick my controller up as the action began. There is no voice acting outside of grunts and groans, with characters gesticulating to convey emotion. The only non-masked character is the maiden, with every villager and so pretty much always having one on. The soundtrack's also really damn good at setting the mood and never gets in the way. There's tons of drums and wind instruments giving it that authentic, older feeling. I did run into a few bugs while playing, though they were quickly remedied. Every once in a while, after using the command screen, the game would just turn red and be unplayable, but the fix was to just press right bumper again to go back into the command screen, press it again to go out, boom, done. Also, there's a day one patch coming in to fix some other potential issues that I was lucky enough to avoid. I think overall my main issue with the game is the massive difficulty spike at the end of it. That final boss rush sees your maiden have 1 health bar for like 5 or 6 fights, and she can take damage at random depending on what moves the boss decides to use. I was able to get through it in a few attempts, but it was frustrating as hell compared to the tough but very difficult game that had been leading up to it at that point. Wrapping things up, Kunitsu-Gami, Path of the Goddess is experimental Capcom at its best. While some of the fights can teeter on feeling unfair, the majority of the game is a glorious mix of hack-and-slash action with a heavy dose of tower defense. It's launching directly into Xbox Game Pass on Cloud Console and PC, and I think it is well worth checking out for anyone looking for roughly 14 hours of a damned good time.